The first step of the scientific method is making an observation. In an observation, you examine something to gain information. The second step is making a hypothesis.
About plants. I want you to tell me, how will watering a plant with water versus soda affect the plant's growth? Okay.
Which is an idea or explanation that's tested through study and experimentation. The third step is conducting the experiment, which is the process of testing the hypothesis.
Guys, in an experiment, there exists single-blind and double-blind experiments. Can you guys tell me the definitions?
Okay. The definition of a single-blind experiment is that it's an experiment in which only the participant does not know whether they are part of the treatment or control group.
Can you guys tell me the definition for a double-blind experiment?
For a double-blind experiment, an experimental procedure is in which neither the subjects of the experiment nor the persons administering the experiment know the critical aspects of the experiment. So who can tell me the definition of an independent variable and a dependent variable?
An independent variable, the values that can be are values that can be changed or controlled in a given model or equation. They provide the input, which is modified by the model to change the output. An example would be the amount of vitamins that a subject is given during an experiment.
In a dependent variable, the values are result from the independent variables. An example is the variable being affected by the independent variable is lifespan.
After the experiment, you analyze your data.
A conclusion summarizes how your results support or contradict your original hypothesis. In our experiment, the data did not support my hypothesis. The soda did not help the plant grow.
In order to survive, organisms compete for resources. Those that adapt, survive, and reproduce.
Today we're going to be testing your reflexes. This is also going to test your response to stimuli. Ready? Yeah. There you go.
I'm cold, my body's not maintaining homeostasis. To survive, organisms acquire nutrients.
I'm carbon.
I'm hydrogen. I'm oxygen.
I'm nitrogen.
And we make up 96% of all living organisms.
And phosphorus and sulfur make up the other 4%.
These are the 9 levels of biological organization: atom, molecule, organelles, cells, tissue, organ system, and she alone is an organism. Together we make a population.
I am oxygen. I am an element.
And we are hydrogen atoms. Together, we make a water compound.
This is the atom. It's composed of protons, neutrons, electrons, the inner electron shell, the valence shell, the nucleus, and the orbitals.
This is a carbon element. Its atomic number is 6. It equals the number of protons. This is its atomic mass, and it's measured in the units of Daltons. These are a couple of the carbon isotopes, carbon-12 and carbon-14. The atomic numbers stay the same, but the mass numbers differ. The mass number is equal to the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. In an isotope, the number of neutrons changes while the number of protons stays the same. Cohesion says that water is attracted to water. The hydrogen bonds in the water are holding the water molecules together. That's why when the water moves, everything moves together and it's a homogeneous mixture. Adhesion says that water is attracted to other surfaces as well. That's why when you flip the water bottle over, you can still see tiny drops of water sticking to the walls of the water bottle. Surface tension. By placing my hand in the water, I am breaking hydrogen bonds, therefore breaking the surface tension. Due to hydrogen bonds, water has a high boiling point or a high specific heat. Due to water's heat of vaporization, water also has a high vaporization point. Evaporative cooling happens when the water evaporates and the water left behind cools because the hottest molecules have left the liquid.
Here we have the Kool-Aid mix or solute, which dissolves. The water in this case is the solvent, which does the dissolving. When mixed together, they form a solution, which in this case is the Kool-Aid drink.
Hydrophilic and hydrophobic substances. A hydrophilic substance is one that has affinity for water. A hydrophobic substance is one that does not have an affinity for water. Oil molecules are hydrophobic because they have relatively nonpolar bonds.
So this is a formula on how to get a hydronium ion. The hydronium ion is usually used to represent an acid.
This formula is to represent the base, and the hydroxide represents the base.
This is the pH scale. The pH scale ranges from 0 to 14. Anything below 7 is acidic, and anything above 7 is basic, and at 7 it's neutral.
These are the equations used to find the concentration of an acid or the concentration of a base, as well as on how to find the pH and pOH.
And these are the formulas to find out the pH and the pOH.
Hydrocarbons are organic molecules consisting of only carbon and hydrogen. An example is oil.
In structural isomers, atoms are arranged in a completely different order. This is shown in the following drawings. In the first drawing, we have the fluorine atom at the end, whereas in this drawing, we have the fluorine atom in the middle. In cis-trans isomers, it occurs where you have a restricted rotation somewhere in the molecule. It is usually around the carbon atom and has a double bond. In a 3D model, if you can take it apart without breaking a double bond and transform it to another, it is an isomer. It is shown in these drawings. As we can see, the hydrogen atoms change, as well as the CH3. CH3 compounds. Isomers are mirror images of each other. It is shown in these drawings. If we were to place a mirror, it would reflect this drawing would be reflected and show this drawing.
I'm a monomer. I'm a molecule that acts as a building block.
We all are monomers that make up a polymer.
The dehydration reaction is when simple sugars add together to make a polymer. An example of this is baking. A hydration reaction is a polysaccharide that breaks apart two monosaccharides or monomers. An example of this is when a munchkin gets soggy and it loses its solid form.
This is glucose. Glucose is the most common monosaccharide. Monosaccharides are simple sugars that can't be broken down by hydrolysis. Glucose is a type of sugar that's used as energy for living organisms.
This is sucrose, a disaccharide. A disaccharide is formed when two monosaccharides are joined by a glycosidic bond. In this case, glucose and fructose make up this sucrose disaccharide.
Starch is a polysaccharide. A polysaccharide is a carbohydrate whose molecules consist of a number of sugar molecules bonded together. A polysaccharide is composed of monosaccharides.